actually the women just came back from a women's ministry retreat. Can you tell me about that?
We both attended, and I'll go first. The speaker we had on the weekend of April 24th to 26th was Judith Hawkins. And actually, she was one of the first Black American women to be appointed to the seat. And also, ironically, she was also the first person, woman or man, to lose her job as a judge because of her religious beliefs. It was that important. She gave a topic about total surrender. Mm-hmm. And her main character was Abraham. And she was talking about how Abraham was allowed to be tempted. The first temptation was about taking his wife and having her declared to be his sister. Then the other temptation he had was listening to his wife, taking Hagar to have a son. And the third temptation that he had to go through to be really tested of God was to offer his only son. So therein she said we should be like Abraham, being in total surrender to God. And she said after Abraham was tempted about offering his son, there's nowhere in the Bible that talked about Abraham being tempted again. Mm-hmm. And we had a really, really great weekend. Wendy, you want to share about your weekend?
I think Judith was speaking about, right to my heart actually, things that she was sharing about total surrender. And I think her witness of her life, I think, touched all of us ladies who were there, wherever we might be, whatever job we might have, whatever family situation we may be in. I think we could all relate to her story and her witness. And she was saying the idea of the tests that we go through then become a testimony to others. And our mistakes, we think that those mistakes really aren't the end. It's not the final exam. It's a test. And all those tests as we go along in our life lead at the end to our testimony. And you might think at the time that those tests are very difficult. Those tests are sort of the end of our story, but they're not. And she was humorous in spots, and I think overall I gained an absolute blessing from the stories that she told about her life. And we had another speaker, I believe, Stephanie. She also, it was very interesting how their two testimonies blended together and just showed us a total picture of God and who He is and how much He loves us.
One of the exercise she made us do that was really significant for me was taking something from your past that has been a burden to you all your life, writing it down on a piece of paper, mm-hmm. and shredding it. And she pointed out to me when I had a personal talk with her, if those thoughts and burden of the past come up again, write it down again and shred it. She says that is what God does with all our past. He shreds it.
That's powerful. That is so very powerful. The Jews have a holiday where they write down their pasts and they shred them and they throw them in the river. And they do exactly that, and it's like clearing out their past sins. And I just thought that was so powerful one year that I did it myself. And it's so freeing. So I'm glad she actually taught you to do that. That's so cool. My last question for you is, what are your future plans for women's ministry at this church?
Well, our future plans are, we have a women's ministry day coming up on May 30th, and a prayer breakfast the following day on the 31st of May. And we encourage all the ladies to come out and join us. And ladies love the prayer breakfast because they can sit down, relax, be themselves, and share personal things about themselves that they know will not be repeated.
Mm-hmm.
So they feel free to cry and to share. And some of the things that we want to do in the future is visit other women that aren't able to come to church and take a meal and just share with them about God's love and encourage them. And another thing that I personally do is, if a woman is missing from church, I give a phone call, find out how they're doing, and try to encourage them to maybe come to church sometimes. And I find it to be rewarding, especially when I see them in church the next time again. And I found it very helpful too, because you can minister anywhere. And personally, I find ministering on the phone really easy, because you just pick up the phone and give a phone call of encouragement. Wendy?
This young lady here is my secret sister from 2 years ago, and the lovely notes I still have that she wrote encouraging me. And I think that to me is a large part of what women's ministry is, to be aware of other ladies, that they feel safe and they can trust our group. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be in a church. Wherever we are, we can tell people about Jesus. And if there are those that are not comfortable or are not churchgoers, just sharing your testimony with them, whether you invite them to your home, whether you see them in the hallway where you live in your apartment, wherever it might be. And I think that strengthens all of us. That's really important to me.
And we encourage prayer partners too.
Mm-hmm.
Women praying with one another, for one another, and their families.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, thank you, ladies, for coming out and having this interview with me. I encourage you, if you haven't been to visit us, please come and join us. Come meet these two ladies in person. They would be more than happy to chat your ear off about women's ministries or any ministry in this church that they know.